NFL rookie second round picks are standing on business. Is it because of greed or is it because of intelligence and knowing your worth? I'm going to talk about a lot of that and a little bit more next on the Chicago Sports Podcast.
Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast. I'm your host for this evening, D Nice. Good to be here to talk Bears. Let y'all come on in here and rock with me for a little bit. I ain't gonna keep it too long, but we just vibing. We're gonna vibe and talk about the Bears. It's always good talking about the Bears, correct? Right on. We have an interesting subject tonight. Rookie second round picks are taking a stand, and even some late first rounders are also taking the same stand all across the NFL. And here tonight, we're going to talk about how it affects us, Chicago Bears, our team, the Chicago Bears players, and the organization, and the fans as well. We're all affected by the situation. So let's get up in here, give y'all a little chance to get up in here, and we're going to talk about it. I hope everyone's had a wonderful day. Real hot where I'm at. Well, it was anyway. It's kind of cool down now. It's late in the evening. About to hit nighttime. But I hope where you guys are, I hope you were cool. And if you were hot and if you were cold, I hope you find some warmth somewhere. But it's warm all across the country from what I understand. And AC is very necessary this time of the year. But without further ado, let's talk about it, man. Rookie first and second rounders are they're pushing a very hard line when it comes down to negotiations and signing these deals. Training camp is approaching, so most teams, they would want everybody in attendance at training camps. Holdouts are never good, rookie holding out, if he comes in late, he comes in behind automatically. No one wants that for their rookie, and no one wants that for their team. But, it's all about the money at the end of the day. And once you're a high pick, this is one of the few times that you have an opportunity to exercise as much leverage as you have. At this point, and I think maybe at the end of your first deal, if you outplay it, you have an extreme amount of leverage. And what better time than to exercise it when you have the most, right? So, and I think that's what's going on here. A lot of people that's not in the know will look at it as these guys are being greedy. But even if that's the case, why not? This is their livelihood. These guys are risking their life to play this game because we all know how rough this game is, and we all know the shelf life for an NFL player is very short, and you're playing under deals already. Even the vets, they're playing under deals that are not guaranteed. You're gonna get some money, a signing bonus or whatever, but that contract you sign for the majority of these players, they're not guaranteed deals. A rookie coming into the NFL has more leverage than your MVPs of the league, your Lamar Jacksons, your Josh Allens, even the better players, the Jamar Chases, the Joe Burrows, um, all the great players. I can keep naming them on and on, but people think it's funny that rookies coming into the league, are able to have more leverage than the guys that's already established themselves as all pros, MVPs, Pro Bowlers, or just very good players. Coming into the rookie, and a part of that is because it's an unknown to what you're going to be. You know, Guys that's picked high that has these high potential grades, they're looked at as superstars before they play it down. I remember back in the day, guys, they had to do something with the whole rookie wage scale because guys were getting these rookies were coming in getting more money than guys that were established at that time. They had to make an adjustment to that. But now we're going to talk about late first rounders and these second round picks that decide to take a stand, and get their money up front. And again, I think this is more than greed. I think it's just players and their representation, doing the due diligence and smarting up. And these guys that rep these players. Listen, when the player get paid, they get paid. So they're trying to maximize this player's check, this player's bag, so they can get some as well. So I can't blame them here. But in 2021, first round picks negotiate their way in getting guaranteed deals, and it wasn't because of the CBA. It was simply because agents negotiating and owners of these teams just simply giving in. This has created a real domino effect throughout the league. Now that the president has been set, I don't think the league has any other options but to continue to give in to this trend. Now, if you're a team that's already established and like the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, I'm still of the adage of every year, you should re-up on your team. You know what I mean? Regardless if you won a Super Bowl or your perennial playoff team, whatever, I think you still should try to improve. And the way you improve is, through the draft mostly. Unless you just got money to spend out, big money to spend, and you just get free agents every year. And that's not really sustainable in my eyes, and I don't think in you guys' eyes neither. So, this is a very interesting situation that we have on our hands. So let's talk about how it affects the Chicago Bears. Shout out to the chat before we roll in there. Shout out to the chat and wherever you guys are watching me from, and tuning in to Chicago Sports Podcast. Shout out to you guys as well. Shout out to you, Bishop. Bishop says, "Hey, do nice a favor and subscribe and smash the like button." Yes, for sure. I was getting there, Bishop. Thank you for co-signing it. Yeah, please, wherever you guys are watching from, please like and subscribe. The family would love it, and you guys will love it as well. We're just Bears fans talking Bears to other Bears fans. We love to hear your opinion, so you can also talk back. Just keep it respectful. Let's talk about how this situation affects the Bears. The Bears have 3 second-round draft picks and an early round draft pick in Colston Loveland at 10. Okay. Now, the second rounders are the ones really putting up a mean fight because normally, this don't happen for them. Okay, now if you're first round or late first round, hey, you're looked at as cream of the crop. The second round is just a second tier. But what I think got this thing started for this season was Houston and Cleveland. Houston, I think, had the second pick in the second round. I think Cleveland had the first. Houston was first, and when they went out and gave their rookie wide receiver a fully guaranteed deal, being a second round pick, and I think Cleveland did the same thing with their first pick in the second round, and I believe it was an offensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken. Look, correct me if I'm wrong. I can be wrong, so hey, if you catch it, call me out on this. Cool. Everyone needs a little help sometime. So, and in the past, the Bears haven't had a real issue in signing their picks. I remember, I think Roquan put up he took a stand, but he was a early first round pick, and I think he showed up late. He came to training camp late. What year was that? Can't remember, but he reported late to training camp because he was negotiating his deal. he didn't get a fully guaranteed deal, if I'm not mistaken, but he finally got the number he looked for. Anyway, he was behind the training camp or whatever. And this is what we want to avoid this year with these second round guys. But we have Luther Burton, we got Ozzie Trapilo, and we got Shamar Turner. Okay, we seen in OTAs that Luther Burton injured himself slightly, and he was never seen again. And I wonder, I think I brought it up in one of the shows, was the fact that we didn't see him. Was it because of contract negotiations, or was he really that hurt? And the way things look, I think it was more of the contract situation, because you go out there early on to get hurt, it kind of hurts your value, and then, people look at you, hey, are you injury prone? Are you durable? Is this going to be a trend? So that could affect the money you're making. So I think in order for him not to affect his earnings, I think his representation told him just chill out. Chill out and wait till it's time to come to the table and agreement before you go back out there on the field. Can't say that I blame him. These guys have during this time, like I mentioned before, this is the biggest. This is the time where you have the most leverage, and you have to exercise. You have to be smart. No matter how athletic you are, at the end of the day, you have to be smart. Like I said, we got Ozzie Trapilo, Shamar Turner, 3 second-round picks, which means, is that 3 guaranteed contracts? You think? I don't know. I think it's going to be if they are guaranteed contract. I can't tell you the number on them. I wish I would love to be inside those rooms and be on those telephone calls and hear them negotiate back and forth on how this thing is supposed to work. I remember I think last year J.J. McCarthy negotiated a situation where I think he got the majority of his money up front. And I think he was a top 10, top 12 pick. So, listen, this is a science. What I'm learning is that, these guys negotiating deals is just a big of a science as them learning offensive coordinator, creating plays and teaching plays. This is all about the game of football. You have the business side and you have the game side. So, these agents are smartening up, and they're smartening up the guys they represent, because this game is so brutal that one injury could kill your career. One bad hit, then the things with concussions have taken over. The more times these guys get hurt, it diminishes their value. And on top of the fact, you having an injury history and then becoming an older player in the league, that really kills your value. And I think that's the reason why the young guys that's fresh and show this promise get more love than the guys that's established, because we don't have a track record of them being, they don't have any NFL miles on them. So, I guess these owners feel like they can get more out of the guys, from the long run, playing a long game, than a guy that's already in. Because once you're in here and you're in here deep, the deeper you get into the NFL, the closer you're being out the door. Let's face it, regardless of how great you are, again, you're one hit away from just being completely done. You're a concussion away from your value being diminished and questioning if you're able to come back. Because the guy with concussion issues, man, excuse me, and we've seen that this year with our players, 2 of our players, Roshan Johnson and Jaquan Brisker. Both of those guys from concussions, and how's that going? Those guys come to the table. And my eyes, I can guarantee you they had more leverage when they were drafted do now coming into the deal. This all makes sense. sense to you guys too. But get in here, if you guys got something to say here, let's try to figure this thing out. Um, I would love to see what these second round guys sign. I would love to see what they sign for, so we can kind of get a gauge on what we're looking at as far as our guys. And forgive me, I said he was an offensive lineman. He was actually the linebacker from UCLA, Carson Schwessinger. I hope I said that right. Excuse me. So yeah, he got a guaranteed deal off the bat. I would love to see what he signed for. I'm trying to find it for you guys now. But we do know it was fully guaranteed. But anyway, Luther Burden, Audrey Trapilo, and Trapilo is a very, well, really Luther Burden as well, because those guys are looking, shoot, Shamar Turner as well. These guys are looking to make an immediate impact, day one. So these are guys that we got to have. And, it's unfortunate that, it's unfortunate for the fans, and for the teams to have this back and forth. But listen, I think this is a great thing for players, because you have to get as much as you can coming in this thing. Shout out to Rome. Shout out to Romy. they better sign before training camp. The Bears have done a real good job historically of getting guys in. Getting our draft pick signed. We're usually one of the teams that get our guys signed pretty early and ready to go. I think the only hiccup that I do remember is Roquan Smith, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Caleb and Rome, they signed right before training camp. I think maybe a week or two before training camp, and those guys are good to go. So I have faith in the team. I have faith, and they do understand what the landscape is. Regardless of what most people think about those guys up top with the Bears, I think they're pretty intelligent guys, especially when it comes down to things like this. So I'm going to put it out there and say I got faith in these guys. But we'll see. We will see. Like I said, Luther Burden and Audrey Pillow, Turner, these are intricate guys. These are guys that are coming in looking to make a very swift impact, on the team. I really wish I could find those numbers. I was looking earlier and really couldn't see anything. Forgive me for being unprepared. I really pride myself on being prepared, but this is kind of tough for me. I don't like to look at guys' money, but it's just interesting to know what we're looking at. Um, okay, for the 10th pick, the total value is $26 million, 26,500 some odd $1,000. All right. First year 4,000, second year 6,000, third year 7,000, fourth year 8,000. That's how they work that out. Okay, but for guys, The Cleveland linebacker is essentially getting 15 million, and the receiver for Houston is getting about 12, 14. At least that's what this says. I hope I'm right, but it's all guaranteed. So looking at Luther Burden, you know, it's hard. It's hard to say, especially when these guys are coming in, looking for guaranteed deals. I think it's gonna listen. It's gonna. This may take a little longer than we think, but I do have faith that deals will get done, and these guys will be there day one of training camp. Um, but this I think the league is going to have to just cave all the way in because once you this is a it's sports are copycat from the field, the courts, um, to the boardroom. This copycat. What you have to be careful, owners. You have to be careful what you let get by because once you let it get by, you may as well just go and let it go. And we've seen guys that's well established get guaranteed deals. One notably is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins' agent. If I was coming out of the draft, that's who I want to represent me. The guy that represents Coach Kirk Cousins. He's gotten Kirk Cousins a heck of a lot of money and plenty of guaranteed deals. And I believe Deshaun Watson's deal was guaranteed as well. So take a look at those two guys. Watson has become an injury. You know, he's been known for some other things that don't want to mention, but he's become the poster boy of injuries. Achilles here. He's hurt. He had a hurt shoulder. He's had a lot of things going on wrong. Since his situation with the Texans. But Kirk Cousins, man, he may not he may not be a Hall of Famer. He may not go to Canton, but he don't have no problem going to the bank, baby. I tell you that. He's he has a Hall of Fame agent and he got a Hall of Fame bank account. And to most guys, that's what matters. The money matters. And listen, even when people think he wasn't worth what he got it and he got it all. And that's something for these guys to look at and shoot for. You know, um, Guys, okay, who's next? Who's next up negotiating deals that that's great players. Guys like C.J. Stroud, Parsons. Those guys may have the leverage to say, "Hey, no, I need mine fully guaranteed." And let's see what these organizations do. Because if you play well, they have to pay it or lose you. Now, if they feel like they're not losing nothing and losing you, then they'll let you go, and someone else will be willing to pay it. But if you're a great player in this league, someone's going to pay you. You know, Now for guys that it didn't work out for, guys like Le'Veon Bell, he ended up, and I think it really hurt his career. He ended up missing, a full season, sitting out a full season to come back because he felt like Pittsburgh wasn't giving him what he felt like he was worth. And I don't know if he wanted how much guaranteed money, or if he wanted his contract fully guaranteed. He didn't get it, and he set out. And I think it took away from his Hall of Fame career because he was definitely headed in that direction. Heck of a player, and that thing didn't work out for him. So, you just look at history and looking at the way things are transpiring for some of these players. I think it'll be totally smart for these guys to go out here and go for the bag off the top. People say, well, focus on your craft and be a great player. The money will come. But at this time, before you're allowed to step on the field, a contract has to be signed. You have to be signed by the team before you step on the field. So I would encourage guys, to go for it. Even ours. Listen, business is business. And the way the league has, kind of created a monster, you gotta respect it. And I think uh Poles and company is gonna have to step into the arena and do what they need to do to get these guys in. Worry about the repercussions later. May not sound very smart, but this is the game we're in. This is the world we're in. This is not 2015. This is not 2005. This is 2025. And this is another new thing that's come up because these agents are well experienced with players. And true enough, these guys get what they get while they're in college, but there's like college money and NFL money is different money. So listen, these guys going out here trying to get the most out of, most out of the organization. And hopefully they have the same attitude at the negotiating table. Well, the same attitude on the field that they're going to have at the negotiating table. And if that's the case, this thing will work out just fine. But history's shown that it doesn't all work out that way. Every draft pick doesn't pan out. That's another thing that the ownership has a qualm about is because, listen, we don't know if you're going to be who we think you're going to be. How do we know that? Before we're giving you guaranteed money, how do we know that you're going to be what you promised to be? And not saying these guys gave a verbal promise, but what you've shown on tape to make me pick you, what we've said, what we've talked about, and the film we watched, and what we talk about during this interview process, during the whole draft process, pretty much when we decided to pick you, it was a promise that you're going to be exactly what we've seen. But before guys hit on the field, because it's a different game in the NFL than it is in college, they don't know. So I think that's where the ownership is able to put up a little bit of fight. But listen, when one situation gives in, it just creates a thing where everybody has to follow suit in this situation. So I think that's where we're at. So good luck to these second round picks negotiating that deal. Hopefully you get everything you asked for. Don't put us in too much of a bind because we got a lot of holes to fill, and hopefully you're a part of the restructuring of our roster and getting great players in, and you guys come in and do what you're supposed to do, and you get the money for it. So with that, Bears fans, I appreciate you guys for sitting in and rapping with me for a little bit. Chicago Sports Podcast family, appreciate you guys coming in here and rapping with us about this subject. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Peace up and bear down.